Showtime. Dynamite download.
Dynamite download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
Oh, you guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
who let this guy in here?
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
I'm saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down, like, wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May. She said, who?
Because I'm so driven. And I'm so moved to like what I want to do.
Versus Brian Keith match.
It's awesome. Oh, it's so cool. You got like these creepy ass dudes.
Oldest ride, longest line.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah. Back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Woo! Welcome to Dynamite Download. Yeah, hold on, let me switch this up. I remember last week I was on the one side, but for me, I always see I'm looking at the screen, Mind Runner on the left, SPD on the right. Team Dynamite Download, the Dukes of Dynamite here live. SPD out in Hollywood this week. Hollywood Hot Take. Might get one of those while I'm out here. Since we got the High Seas Hot Take, Hollywood Hot Take. How is your week going so far, Mind Runner? Cheers.
Cheers to you as well. This ain't water.
This ain't orange juice.
Going very well. Going very well. Full Tilt Deb and I have had an exciting week. All kinds of things, all kinds of irons in the fire. Super excited for a pay-per-view weekend, and I'm thinking Full Gear is going to really impress some folks. So we're excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, the pay-per-view week is officially here. We are on the final push to Full Gear, and I saw a tweet earlier today. The Hangman, I'm sure you saw it, the Hangman Adam Page, how the pay-per-view is named after him, and. Yes. It was the BTE skit, and I was watching it, and I don't remember seeing that skit. And maybe it would just gloss over it, but, not thinking that was the pay-per-view, what it was all named after. But, man, Crayfish and I were texting. We're like, man, we miss BTE, and I'm sure you do, and sure everyone else does. Like, it just added that extra element of connection to the elite, and I think, like, their AEW roster. And I know Sammy does a great job with his vlog, and others have that, but I feel like the curtain's kind of been shut a little bit on those type of things, and BTE really pulled back the curtain on a lot of things, and really, as we saw the rise of Dark Order with it.
Yeah.
And I know, they're doing being the Dark Order, but it's just not the same. And with our EVPs out right now, and essentially Jack Perry just kind of standing on his own right now of the elite, which we'll dive into in a little bit. But yeah,
I do want to talk a little bit about too. I like that was one of the things that I think has been missing is the balance with the extra, almost like extra features, like on a movie when you get like those extra behind the scenes and features and whatnot. I feel like that we need more of that. We need more, like a little bit of, people complain if it's not on TV, why not? I don't know. I kind of like that. It rewards you. Like a casual fan can just watch it, whatever. But a diehard fan like us sickos, it's cool to kind of have those little Easter eggs, if you will.
Right.
When you have something like that, when you have like, oh, I know why. Like Johnny Hungy got his name, Johnny Hungy, from that. The whole Mr. Brody Lee storyline perpetuated from that. I think we need more of that.
You're right. I completely agree, and that's where like some of those YouTube BTE stuff came to fruition, like on TV, and it's like it all tying together. And I loved it, and I missed it. But you're sitting at the top of the throne. We'll talk about the current status of our rankings. In typical fashion, though, pay-per-view weeks, last time I made I think a 7-point jump or something like that, because I got like the +3 and 4 wins, something like that. I had an awesome pay-per-view last time. Crossing my fingers for another great pay-per-view. I got a few guys that I feel like are Moxley at least one lockup point, but maybe a few more on there, but I'm hoping for that +3. It can be definitely a standings rattler.
Well, should we hint that some of the top threes that we have? I mean, we've got some extra threes, if you will. There's been a lot of people joining the ranks since then.
Right.
You know,
it's tight. Like, it's tight at the bottom.
Do I dare ask who you have your eyes on?
Well, speaking of, like you said, the +3, which we're going to do after Thanksgiving, adding that, it's going to give us a lot of. It's going to be interesting too, because if someone's undrafted, the Continental Classic can really add some bonus points too, because you're going to have wrestlers wrestling week in and week out consistently. So obviously the Hurt Syndicate is I would say top of the list of free agents. You got little sleeper picks like Commander picked up a couple wins here and there. You got Rocky Romero picking up a couple, trios. So it's like those little sleeper picks that you're typically known for, Mind Runner, of picking up. And then rumors of maybe a couple new wrestlers coming in, contract permit. So we'll see.
I cannot confirm or deny that the possibility that there were that there was some kind of there might be some new people, a certain speedball, maybe
right.
the ranks here very soon. I cannot confirm or deny, but I do think that's going to be somebody to keep your eye on. I think he's not exactly going to be a Ricochet, but I think he's going to have that same. He's going to come in and it's going to be another one of those. I mean, let's give me all the flippy do wrestlers, please just give me.
I'm here for it.
Give me all of the flippy do, all the super, all of those kind of guys. I am here for it. I would love to see it. And just stick it in my veins.
Let's without further ado, let's get to it so we can move on to Dynamite. And also, as we mentioned last week, we're going to go over our Continental Classic grouping picks from Dynamite Download. If you're in the chat too, get yours ready. 2 groups of 6, grouping Dynamite, grouping Download, who you want to see in those groups. We'll show last year's groupings, then we'll show each of ours that we booked. No one has seen them. We haven't seen each other's, and we're going to talk it through halfway through the show. So let's see where we stand in season 4 of our draft.
All right. Oh, did I click it? Where'd it go?
They're keeping us this.
I just realized that the one I had loaded is the last week, so let me fix that for us. But I will say this: anything can definitely happen. But I think we've actually got some movement. Brent is now at 27, and we got a lot of cool, a lot of movement on everybody's thing here. I don't know.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Hang tight. I'm not adding points here.
Oh, okay. We got a little recount.
We got to do a recount here because
we need some polling. We need some poll workers over there to make sure.
All right, we got it.
Correct.
Now it is working. Okay, there's been some movement. There's some really cool stuff. This last week has been fantastic. Now let's see if it's working. Come on, upload the 11/20 draft. Here we are.
All right.
It's still processing. Come on. There we go. All right. There you go. Look at this. Brent in second place. Brian in third place. SBD 20. The battle at second place. And see, don't sleep on the right side of the column because you've got Steven at 20, Cray and Courtney tied at 19, and Bobby at 16. And so we've got quite a bit of quite a bit of a battle. Now, here's the thing: that 36 of Mr. Mind the King, anything can happen. My
half of that is
workhorse
from Orange Cassidy.
Well, here's the thing: Private Party, they're not getting as many reps. Are they going to be able to keep the titles? If they don't, what have you?
Right.
Orange Cassidy, he's what's going to happen to him after Moxley? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to maintain this.
Yeah.
I might have blown up early. So we'll see what happens.
So that's the wild card of all this is also what we talked about is the +3 for actually, do you have Brian or who's in second place? Brent's card.
Yeah.
Let's see here's Brent's team right here. So let's say we got Takesha's not on the card, Thunder's on the card, or we got Statlander on the card currently, and that's it right now.
Yeah.
So just that. So even though if Statlander does win and then he gets a +3, I mean he's right. He's nipping at your heels. And then Mind, like SPD, I got Moxley and Fletcher, and that's it. Maybe they're going to throw in a Ricochet match. Who knows? I'm hoping they'll throw in a Ricochet plus FTR plus Young Bucks versus Dark Order.
I can't imagine FTR not being on the card in some way,
Jericho's not on the card. I know he's got a big match for Dynamite, but
I thought he was wrestling Tomohiro, or is that not going to be
Dynamite? That's the Thanksgiving Eve Dynamite.
That's right. Wow.
Yep. Steven right there. He's got the Ishii on that. He's guaranteed point here because he's got Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia. So that's maybe a topic for another time. But up top left there, Okada. Like, where has he been? Man, that is like, oof. Where has he been? But +3 is a huge thing, and I'm looking forward to it. And the Continental Classic, like you said, or let's go to your team. If some of our guys on everyone else's team starts, a lot of entries into the Continental Classic, you're going to start seeing those points start to add up quicker. Right here, the only person I could technically see in the Continental Classic would be a possible whatever happens to OC or Kyle O'Reilly. I can't imagine any of these other wrestlers being in Continental Classic.
Well, there's one other that I think might, but I'll make a case for that when we talk about the Continental Classic.
I think FTD's team is got Continental Classic written all over it. I could see.
I forgot about
Briscoe, Hologram, Roosh, and Shibata all being in the Continental Classic. Cray's team definitely it depends what goal they have with the trios. I would love to see any one of the trios people in the Continental Classic, Claudio and Pac, with that. So, and then Adam Cole, it depends on what direction he's going. But anyways, let's move on to Dynamite. And because it definitely felt like the go home show of the week for Full Gear. Lots of promos. I was watching it. I didn't get to watch all of it live. I had to go back and watch a little bit. But it was three or four promos in a row that was back to back to back. It was I'm trying to remember the order of it, but it was the Adam Cole promo, I remember Jericho's promo was in there, and then the Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, which is kind of weird, and then it was MJF to Roderick Strong, then Jericho, and then there's something else. All these promos in a row, really setting up the matches. And I think they definitely had value to all of them for sure, because each match, looking at the Full Gear card, I think I'm more excited about, I don't want to say the undercard, but some of the undercard matches than the heavyweight matches personally.
Was there only 4 matches last night?
Got the Meat Mayhem, the main event, the Darby match, and the women's match. Yeah. No, the 2-on-1, the Lashley 2-on-1.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was thrown in there. But looking at this, man, let's just kick things off with the Meat match, the Meat Mayhem match. I actually really like the storytelling in this match with Hobbs getting hurt and coming back, and typical baby face, hot tag and back and forth. I felt like this match is as chaotic as it could have been, was very controlled chaos, and really a highlight for a lot of guys. And, no one looked weak ever. And it was just like, did a good job blending so many different storylines going on. I love that the commentary team even was putting over the team of the Murder Machines and how they're undefeated and how, they could be looking for the tag team titles in that push. And so I remember when they said that, I was really popping for that. But a lot of great pairings. I love a good, I prefer a tag match or a trios match. 4-on-4 can get a little chaotic, but I always pop for when it's like one guy hits a move, then the other guy hits a move on that guy, then that guy hits a move on that. It's like everyone gets their move in, gets their stuff in, and then ultimately then like the crowd goes wild. So I love the spots when they were doing that. I think I was honestly surprised that the heels won this one, but the way that it was lost just sprinkled a little bit more fuel on a little fire of what's going on with the Mark Davis saga. How did you like this match overall? And then what do you foresee playing out?
This was like an ADHD match, man. I mean, it was like, what? I mean, there were so many great there were so many great matchups. I mean, it was like, and I don't want to think like this, but Mark Davis is kind of the 8. The week he was the guy I felt like was probably going to eat the pin if the bad guys won, if the heels won.
I agree. I was thinking that too.
Because I couldn't see any way that any of the baby faces would win. Oh, unless Ospreay pinned Kyle Fletcher to set up for full year. But I felt like it was great. Like you said, to quote Brian Cage, everybody got their stuff in, like you said, like you got using a different word than stuff. But the Powerhouse Hobbs thing, even though I knew it was kind of like that trope where they got to go backstage and they come back, I'm nervous about Hobbs's leg, man, because he's in such great shape and he's battled back so hard if he truly was injured. Except there was a moment where when he was coming up the steps, he kind of walked a little bit normal for a second, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm injured." So I think he was all right. I love how they're really making the heels formidable. I'm all for Kyle the Viper Fletcher. I mean, say what you will about him being Kyle Orton, but I do like that. I think it's great they're protecting Takeshita. Murder Machine looked great. Lance Archer was doing, people forget too, Lance Archer and Will Ospreay have a history from back in New Japan that they went at it a lot back there. So that was a tremendous to see. Ricochet in the middle of all this stuff. Ricochet might be my mom's new favorite wrestler. I've been getting my mom into wrestling because I'll talk to her once a week, do a video call. So I started showing her. I started with Lucha. This is the one that hooks everybody. Lucha Brothers. I showed her some Lucha Brothers. I showed her the one where there was the Lucha Brothers, and it was Lucha Brothers and Vikingo versus Top Flight and Action Andretti. And it was that one where they all fell down and they came up like this. And so I've been hooking her on that, but Ricochet has been tremendous. I like I said earlier, like you hinted earlier, there may be a certain Speedball showing up that I'd love to see Ricochet and Speedball go head to head. But all in all, fantastic match. Great way. I thought this was going to be like a main event, but what a great way to start the episode. And it was fantastic. I loved every minute of it.
I was hoping for more meat chance. If this is Chicago, I think we would have got a lot of meat chance. But just looking at these 8 guys just right here, I mean, like, dang, what an army. Like, if you were to like go in a bar fight and like had all these guys there, like no one's gonna touch you.
No.
And I loved how the intro with the family, how they just like stood tall on the ramp. I'm like, this is a great version of the family. These guys like are definitely scary to look at, scary to wrestle in the ring. And I think like, yes, they've been playing hot potato of who's in, who's out with Trent and Hobbs and anyone in between. But this, I feel like they finally got like a solid group. And we were pushing for the Machine versus the Murder Hawk, and now they're tagging. We're pushing for that match so heavily.
Well,
And now
I'll
they're,
take it.
they're future tag team champs, in my opinion. So it's great to see with that one. Now, one of the things like really impressed me last night, and I think the booking was great, was the Darby Allin Claudio Castagnoli match. I was afraid going into this that Claudio was going to take the L, and I felt like that maybe would have diminished the Death Riders just kind of credibility a little bit, even though we think Darby could and can be the savior of Team AEW, ultimately potentially dethroning the Death Rider Captain Mox. But the way this was booked was fantastic. I think Claudio looked like an absolute stud. He put on an absolute clinic, and the way he just dismantled Darby, in typical Darby Allin match fashion, was just so impressive. Like at the point where he suplexed him over the railing and walked him up the steps and threw him in the ring, at that point I was just like, amazing. Like there's no way Darby's winning. And then the spot on the table and all that. This is how the match for Moxley and OC should go. An absolute, almost one-sided offensive beatdown. Like we saw the shock factor at the end of the last pay-per-view where Danielson was, no one went home happy. They got turned on and he got taken away on the stretcher. No one went home happy unless you're a true heel and a POS. Maybe your household was a little happy, but this is how you need to push the Death Riders, is ending the pay-per-view not on a high note. You need to save all the confetti for the ultimate payoff. And I want an absolute, not to jump too far for Full Gear, just an absolute beatdown, and Mox just stand tall with little to no contestant. Even though those two guys have had some great matches back and forth, OC and Moxley. I want what we saw last night with Darby and Claudio. I want to see the one-sided offense, and Claudio just really, really impressed me. That to me, like, wow. I don't know what else to say. I think if we still did, which I think we need to bring back, he's my performer of the night.
Claudio, definitely, even though he was wearing Marina Shafir's pants, I think that I think it was fantastic. He swung Darby into the steps. If Moxley's essentially our tribal chief in AEW, because I love what he's doing. There's a little bit of a shoot underneath all of this work that he's doing right now with this, is that he's reinventing AEW a little bit. He's taking everybody to their absolute best. Darby, OC, everybody. And they have to be formidable they have to be a formidable opponent. It's kind of like the world will unite against the common enemy. They've become the common enemy that AEW is uniting behind. And I like this. Now I think Darby, OC, I think anybody that steps up to Moxley right now, whether Garcia, whoever, I think that it's important for them to just look like, and that's the thing is AEW they don't have, like, everybody looks good. They still get beat up. And I think it was great to have Claudio come out with the win here. Like to your point about them looking good. My feeling is everybody's going to try. They're going to try to defeat the Death Riders. Death Riders are going to just run roughshod. They're going to continue to dominate until end of the world. At World's End, the cleaner will be the answer.
You think that soon?
I think or towards Revolution. I don't think he wrestles at World's End.
Well,
I think he shows up at World's End.
If he's wrestling early January in Japan, World's End is just, December 30th. So some kind of wow factor has to happen at World's End, whether it be the Young Bucks returning or whatever it may be. I feel like something's got to happen, but I feel Moxley needs to start going through these AEW guys, these so-called wannabe knock them down a peg or, take a spot. And I feel like this is only his first true opponent is OC, and you have all these ones like the Darbys, which he beat and took his title spot anyways back in September. But I feel like depending on what happens with the Daniel Garcia match, you should be having other ones, even if it's just like, I want to see Briscoe go at it, and I want to see Darby try to challenge. I just want Moxley to just line him up and knock him down because it's just adding more credibility. Granted, they're doing this, gang warfare, beat down, leave people, helpless in the ring. But I want to see him have matches and be like, who's coming? Open challenge, anyone from the back, and then just you think someone's good, but then he's just gonna essentially squash them because of how much of a tear he's on and how much he's changed. He's even though he's been this unhinged lunatic fringe, he's even more so where he needs to just absolute brutal violence and where his matches just end by referee stoppage and things like that.
Love it.
I would love to see that. I want more. I want so much more. What's feed me more? Feed me more.
SPD, do you feel like it brings the boom?
Don't. Anyways. Well, speaking of, real quick about the boom, Adam Cole coming to the ring.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, the real boom coming to the ring, cutting the promo.
Yeah.
This segment, like, I don't know, man. It just felt off to me. I was curious, like, your thoughts on what you thought of this segment and with Kyle O'Reilly, and like, because I don't know, I just have mixed feelings, and I don't know what to think of this whole.
I mean,
what's your take? I'm curious.
We're Dynamite Download. We keep it positive, but positive isn't toxic positivity. Positive is calling it as it is, and we love AEW. We believe in AEW. We love the talent. This doesn't take away from the talent or anybody, but we've got to be honest. We can't be deluded. The Adam Cole stuff is not hitting with anybody. It's sleeping. And he's coming across as brittle, and especially, and I know there was probably trying to have the opposite effect, but when Buddy Matthews said, "I want to show everybody that you're fragile,"
right,
that actually put context to how a lot of us were feeling, because
that moment's really stuck to you, and I'm glad you keep bringing that back up because that is a key moment. I feel like that's overlooked.
Yep, and I think that was the moment it really clicked with everybody what we've been feeling bad about with somebody's got to talk to him about the spray tan. He's got to talk to him about this, and they're really trying hard, like they're but they almost feel like they're scrambling a little bit to try to make Adam Cole. It reminds me of when Cody was trying to change the fans to make him a babyface, or when they were trying to get Roman Reigns over the first time, or when they were trying, even Rocky came out to try to make Roman Reigns over and they booed him. I don't think, does he have jaundice? No, he looks like he's from The Simpsons, but when he takes down his knee pad, you can see he's not tan. And I know he's been through a lot. I know the breakup with Britt Baker and a lot of the whole getting a cadaver foot, but I feel like there could have been a much more creative way to make Adam Cole relevant. I think it was a mistake to try to bring him back as a babyface when he left as the devil.
Right.
I mean, you don't leave as the devil and come back an angel. Yeah, I think it's really been, and fans, this is a lesson that Tony Khan and everybody should know, is you don't force feed the fans. You got to listen to the fans. That's why the Outrunners are in this tag team thing, because they're listening to the fans.
Right.
It's falling flat. They need to come up with a more creative way. I thought it would be interesting. An interesting storyline would steer into the whole cadaver bone in his leg. And that whole thing that Malachi Black did, have Malachi Black start to say your darkness is inside, there's darkness inside you, and start to try to recruit him to House of Black. But regardless, whatever, it's falling flat with me. You could hear the audience just being like, "What?" And the other thing too is Kyle O'Reilly is part of the conglomeration, and for him to just come out, I know he was talking like, "Hey, I need you better," and he was trying. They were really trying to get him over. Something needs to change, and I'd love to hear from people in the chat or the comments. What do you think needs to happen? But I'll be honest with you, SPD, this just fell flat for me.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. That's why I was like just trying to get someone else's take on it, and especially the Kyle O'Reilly stuff. Like, he didn't seem excited. There wasn't any emotion, and it just was like, what's the direction here? And so I was a little bit confused by it. I was a little bit shocked at the abrupt ending too, and it just, I don't know. I expect more, and I do think Adam Cole is a good babyface. Especially, he's got it all. Like, he can talk, he can play that underdog role because of his size. He's got the theme music, he's got the catchphrases, he's got all of that, and I think that like that will work. But I think if he can beat MJF at World's End and get some momentum going, then I think like we'll be singing a different tune starting early 2025 with that.
Yeah.
So I hope so, because I mean, I love his theme song. I think it's a lot of fun. I just feel we're kind of like treading water right now with what's going on with him. But let's talk about the women's match of the night. Lead it off, mine.
Well, first of all, the women's match. I think it's time we start investing a little more in the women's division here. But
it's hit or miss. Like some shows, like Collision, they started the show and ended the show with the women's match last week, and they have a lot of segments. So I felt like given what they have on the card already, they had to do what they had to do with promos and things like that. But I mean, this is a marquee match with these two names for sure. So
this could be an old school AEW. This could be a main event. This could be a pay-per-view match.
Sure.
You've got the former women's champion, the former TBS champion. You've got two old school OG AEW talent that on Dynamite are having this match. And again, brutal match, great match. You know, of course, you're going to get what you expect from a Shida Chris Statlander match. I feel like, okay, and I'm sure we'll talk more tomorrow night on the Full Gear, but there's only one women's match on Full Gear. The other women's segment is a champagne celebration for Mariah May. Right. Mariah May, that whole feud with Anna Jay, despite, some people like Anna Jay, doing the Arrested Development thing. Anna Jay came back from Stardom. She really did come back with a lot improved. She really was fantastic, confident in herself. Right. You could see it in the ring. Mariah May is fantastic. She checks all the boxes. You know how I feel about her. They've had great chemistry. Harley Cameron is killing it. She's hilarious. She does great promos. We've got Mina Shirakawa back. Thunder Rosa is available, is putting on bangers. You've got Nyla. You've got there's the Penelope Ford should have beat Britt Baker. I'm going to say that again and again and again. They could have had it where Serena Deeb got involved with Britt Baker. There's no reason why there shouldn't be more going on with the women's division than there is. And granted, we got a tremendous match. I thought it was great, but I'm disappointed and that this is what we got. And Camille Brickhouse is almost looking like a jobber. What's
going on there? Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, I know they're trying to hint that she's going to turn on Mercedes Moné, but the fans can see through that, and it's like, no, she got in the ring. She shouldn't have got in the ring. I mean, she's got a sling on, and she just was like, "Hey, I'm going to beat you up." I thought that was silly, and Camille should have come in. Camille should be a just stonewall badass, and she should be undefeated, and that would make her a much formidable person to stand behind Mercedes Moné. But she's not. They haven't booked her that way, and I feel like they kind of dropped the ball with Camille, and it was a little bit embarrassing. And other than a great wrestling match, there really was, and it wasn't clear if the stakes at this match. I don't like. They kind of hinted that this came from their conversation. Sheeta and Statlander talking about who gets the first title shot when Statlander wins. Like, was this for the title shot against Mercedes Moné? I mean, I think it would have been more compelling if they made the stipulation that if Sheeta wins, it becomes a 3-way.
That's a good point.
And if Sheeta loses, Chris keeps her title match, and then you could still have Chris Statlander win and keep the match as is.
Right.
But I just felt like there wasn't anything at stake in this match other than the good match, and that's something I really hope improves with AEW, and it's particularly with the women's matches.
Yeah, I mean, this should have been given more time. Should have been getting a bigger feud. If you really want to establish with top talent.
I like this point. If I could just jump in real quick,
yeah.
Camille is kind of getting the Wardlow treatment, not the MJF treatment, but kind of the not know what to do with her. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And in the Instagram chats, we're seeing, why does AEW struggle with establishing badass big men and women from Crayfish? And he's saying how you're on fire here with the Camille. It's true. Like how you're saying, like she came in hot. She came in like with this, aura of badassery. And the last month or so, I don't know what's really happened. So it'll be interesting what direction they go with that, because you need those, like Camille should have been established. I almost feel like Camille should have beaten Statlander and been like, you're not good enough. Like she needs some wins. Like she was getting those, but all of a sudden it just stopped. It kind of was like cold turkey of like, no more wins. And so I don't know what's going on with that.
If I could really quickly just jump in, imagine how different that scene would have played out if Camille had been undefeated and destroyed everybody she wrestled up to this point. If she was essentially a female Goldberg, where she has destroyed everybody, has been this menacing force, beating everybody up, including Statlander. Even Statlander struggles to defeat her. And then Mercedes says, climb in the ring. And she goes and takes on Statlander and Sheeta.
Right.
And it looks like she's going to even be able to take both of them on, but they somehow fight through it and defeat her. It would be so much more impactful for her to get in. She needs to be Debo, she needs to be that. Anyways, I'm passionate about it. Apologize. It's just,
No, I know you're passionate about the women's division, and it's right. We want the best. It's not criticizing. It's trying to hope for the best and want the best.
Absolutely.
And you have the talent there. You just need the right mesh, the right booking, and so forth. But speaking of booking, hot off the press, new match for Full Gear.
9 minutes ago.
Officially been announced from Tony Khan himself, as expected. Ricochet versus the international champion Kinoshita Takeshita, which could be match of the night in terms of wrestling. I mean, we were talking Fletcher versus Ospreay, possibly match of the night with Pure Wrestling. Like those two matches, buckle up, because they're going to be for a ride. I think it's going to just be an amazing one.
Tremendous.
But to piggyback on our show for tomorrow, as soon as we start our show, no matter what happens, that's it. No more additional. The points will count, but the bingo card is locked. When TK starts adding 3 or 4 more matches onto the buy-in or the pre-show, that's it. We're not adding those to the bingo card accumulation, but they will count on the draft for sure. But this is now the ninth and final match of the main card of Ricochet and Takeshita for the championship. This is going to be a fantastic match. I can't wait for that. But I want to talk about, what's at stake starting next week. The Continental Classic is back.
Yes.
And we don't have anyone anyone that's officially announced, which is it's kind of fun, but we're gonna see, as TK said in one of the media calls, he's gonna see who's healthy after Full Gear. It's gonna be Full Gear. I mean, there's a lot of people going to battle and a lot at stake. So Continental Champion currently Okada. Where has he been? I've been very curious of, like, I feel like that's a whole nother hot take of, like, what the heck is going on with him.
Do you think Tony Khan is nervous about him getting injured because he wants him in the Continental Classic, so they've kind of kept him?
Does he need to be in the Continental Classic?
I guess not.
I feel like he's the champ because he doesn't need to be in the Continental Classic.
I guess
whoever
you're
wins
right.
this.
Well,
wait. So is whoever wins this, is they going to be crowned? This is a whole different thing. Is whoever wins this going to be crowned the new champion,
or have to
whoever
defeat him?
Going to be the get the title shot?
I don't know.
That should be. I feel like it should be the championship winning that tournament for it. So, that's a whole nother thing. Like, because now that we officially have a champion, like, what's it going to take for? Because so often people just win one match to get a title shot. Like, this is a grueling tournament, and this should be awarded for the winner of the tournament. So I feel like you have to have, which none of us thought, because I have everyone's card, which we have a special guest.
Last time the winner from each division faced off, and then the winner got the belt. So yeah, you're right. I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, so that's a whole nother wrench to throw in there for the Continental Classic. So we're going to bring in a special guest. Us three, have created our groupings for this, our fantasy groupings. No one had seen it except myself, because I put the graphics in, but I already did mine the first, so I didn't have any influence. But now that talking it through, we might all need to add Okada in there. But welcome back to the show. The man, the legend, Crayfish. Oh, he's on mute. Wait, hold on. Let me unmute you.
Hey, guys.
There he is.
What's going on? Hey,
guys.
guys.
What's up? You just had to chime in. Thanks for all those comments on Instagram.
Yeah.
I know Mine Runner was on fire.
Man,
you were loving what you had to say.
Dude, as a Wardlow fan, like, and honestly, as a Mercedes fan, I mean, SPD, you remember my bachelor party. I mean, I'm a huge Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné fan. You were on fire, Mind. I mean, I was definitely like, just let him, as the kids say, like, I mean, just let him rip it, man. You were on fire with the Camille take, and it did remind me a lot of what's going on with what has happened with Wardlow's career. And again, like I said, I mean, I don't know why. Is Mind? I mean, not to, like, do you think some of it is because TK has invested so much in a lot of, like, smaller guys? I don't know why AEW struggles so much with the big guys. I think, like, how many times he stopped and started with Hobbs and Wardlow, and we've talked about Lance Archer. It's just like
Brian Cage.
So it's a repeated pattern. It's eventually
Miro.
You have to have your head in the sand if you don't see the pattern, right? It's just like the big ones that should be no doubt stars seem to struggle in AEW for some reason, which has me a little worried about Bobby Lashley too. I don't know, man.
Good point.
I'm not sure.
To break the pattern, and you were on fire, Mind, about the Camille stuff. I mean, it just, like, coming in. Anybody who knew what she was about, like, she's just such a powerhouse. She should have been presented differently, and I think you killed it. So
yeah, exactly. And like calling her Camilo, or like the Camille, the Ward meal or something like that.
Right.
I did think, though, I feel like the only way you can really resurrect Wardlow at this point, and I think part of it was, sometimes I think Tony gets excited, but there were so many storylines that were a little bit convoluted, and of course Adam Cole getting injured really flushed that Undisputed Kingdom down the toilet thing, and then Wardlow had his injuries, and it just really killed at what was supposed to be this big moment. I would love to see if Wardlow comes back healthy. I think, because if we're not just going to make it about race, if we're going to make it about badassery, I'd love to see Wardlow could be redeemed by joining the Hurt Syndicate.
I love it.
Have
You're right.
MVP
there's
be like,
been a lot of. You're right. There's been
have
a lot of
MVP just flat out say, "Listen, son, the one
That's
thing you haven't had is direction. Come with me."
I had a conversation
you're right.
with someone
there
on.
has been a lot of buzz online about the race stuff when it comes to MVP and his time in the WWE and all that. So, you're right. If it's not about race, if it's about just like guys who
Badasses.
like to be badasses and dominate and make money and all that, I love where your head's at. I mean, you know me. I love like Wardlow from the get-go with Dynamite Download. I've always thought he was the guy, right? Like he was the guy that WWE would be jealous to have. He just felt like he was can't miss. And unfortunately, there have been some of it has been due to injuries, some of it has been due to booking, but he's had this stop start push, and having him stand alongside Bobby Lashley, who is a known badass, Shelton Benjamin, who we're going to get into the Continental Classic. My thoughts on Shelton Benjamin, I think he's this is a time where the stars might align for his career. AEW feels like the right fit for Shelton Benjamin, actually. To be honest with you, I think this could be really, really great for his career. It would be awesome to see Wardlow join that group and have him be alongside these badasses rather than like him being the only bad. I mean, not to say anything bad about the Undisputed Kingdom, but it's like Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, like Matt Taven, Mike Bennett. They don't fit. Wardlow stands out amongst those guys, right?
I think they were going to do something with that, because remember we talked about early on, he kept looking at Adam Cole's belt,
right?
Like he kept kind of side eyeing, like Adam Cole's like, and Wardlow's gonna do the job for me, and then Wardlow's like, yeah. I think they were setting him up to change that, but then of course things happen. But we already know Wardlow looks great in a suit. We know he can wear a nice suit. He already fits.
He needs to bring back the man bun. Maybe
bring back the man bun
some SPD
and just
hair going, right? I mean, I would like him a little bit with the longer hair. I think that does look better for Wardlow. It's a better look for him. But you're right, man. He looks good in a suit. He would fit the vibe. And, that is one of those ultimate what if scenarios is like, what would have been if Adam Cole didn't get hurt and things would have gone the way with that storyline that Tony maybe originally had planned. That is one of those things that we'll never know, but it certainly impacted many careers, right? And I know they're trying to start Adam Cole back up again. I don't know what's going on with the Roderick Strong proceeding against MJF versus instead of Adam Cole. I
think that's smart booking for now. But like I've said a few weeks, like let the Adam Cole thing simmer a little more. Give us the ultimate payoff. It needs more time to burn. It needs more time for us to heal and to have Adam Cole be more of a fan favorite. Because I think this would have been too soon.
That's fair.
I'm fine with the booking with Roddy right now. Personally,
that's fair. That's fair. I know that the initial reaction online was like, what are they doing with this Adam Cole? Like, it wasn't the whole redemption angle, like him versus MJF. Like, it was just a lot of that. And there was a lot of criticism about it. Like, I don't know anybody who's chomping at the bit to see Roderick Strong against MJF, but it will be a good match. I mean, Roddy is a good hand, as they say.
Well, Crayfish, I got to interrupt you because I think this is from BR Misses You Buddy. He has given us a super chat party.
Oh my God, is that a private chat party?
Private chat party.
Love it. Yeah. Love it.
Thank you, BR.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Brian, man. It's awesome to see
get your input on that, Crayfish. Let's shift into the Continental Classic stuff, because that's kind of going to be a nice wave, essentially breath of fresh air, because I feel like it's such a fun time when they did that last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to throw up last year's pool of players, and quite a grab bag full of different ones, and just look what we saw last year to who's there now. I mean, obviously Danielson now was the champ, Moxley is the champ, for sure, Strickland former champ, Briscoe former world champ ROH, and so like the caliber is definitely here. Questionable booking, with a couple of the guys that are in there, but just by looking at this and where we're at on the roster today, I challenge you guys to send over your essentially dream teams or your dream picks. It's a little harder to pick the grouping, but it's more of the content versus the grouping. But because of what you guys were talking about and the kind of the hot topic that's been on our show for a while, I'll go first with Team SPD, or not necessarily Team SPD, SPD's booking. And my hot take there is the Dynamite group right there. Look at that name, Wardlow.
Yep.
I think this is a chance. There's a couple. I think there's 3 scenarios right now that could save Wardlow. One is entering this tournament and either winning it or just having a dominant performance. 2, as you guys just mentioned, the Hurt Syndicate joining. And 3, I think, honestly, joining the Death Riders in some form, somehow. Like,
oh man,
he needs to be put with top tier whatever's going on. Now, I could see a 4th one, which I think would just be a Band-Aid, not a fix, would be aligning with Ospreay, helping Ospreay out fight the family.
But I mean,
that's a Band-Aid.
Hobbs is kind of doing that, though.
Right.
And SPD, not to like interrupt, and I'll let you get back into your booking here, but like, I don't think it's a bad thing to admit that Wardlow is just better in a group setting. I understand that, like, we all want to build solo stars, and that's, at the end of the day, you want to have that top guy, right? But like, look at the WWE. Roman Reigns is better when he has the bloodline around him.
You're right.
It's like, there's nothing wrong with saying this is a guy who maybe vibes and gels better when he's in a group setting. And the best of Wardlow has been, when he was paired with MJF, when he was in the Pinnacle. There's nothing wrong with saying like, hey, I love Wardlow's upside, but he's best when he's surrounded by other strong alpha type top, the wolf mentality, right? Like wolves run in packs, and let him be one of those guys who runs with some other dominant wolf type guys in the company. I'm with you, SPD. I think it would be great. I didn't have him in my bracket simply because I don't know what's going on with Wardlow. It's very hard to understand what his future looks like right now.
It's a chance for us, a reintroduction and redemption, to be in this Clown Classic can do wonders, I think, for people. I felt like Jay White really shined last year. Obviously Eddie Kingston shined greatly with the comeback story, and just looking at this group, like Dynamite group and the Download group, like the Download group is just the banger matches, like the
I love your
flippies and
Download
insane
group.
Yeah, like, and then you throw on kind of the wild card Malachi Black. I mean, we saw last time he wrestled, like the flips and the stuff and the holds he can do. Like, for him to go in the match with any of these other 5 guys in the Download group, any one of those matches is just going to be really great. And I selected a few of these people on both groups, kind of like, I don't want to say directionless, but like where someone would be more meaningful. Like, Beast Mordos. I know that's kind of like a while. You need some of those. They don't all have to be grade A.
The Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, right?
Mordos, like, he is awesome in the ring and the stuff he does. And so for him to have that weekly showcase, like, I would love to see him go against a Fletcher and a Wardlow. Like,
I agree.
It's more of the meat category up there a little bit, minus White and then the kind of
high
banger out of your seat matches, the dream matches.
I like what you did
there. And so
one of my picks. I can't believe just looking at that. I'm already ready to change one, but
well, all of us are going to have to change
after mine. SPD and I were talking well before the show, and he showed me the graphics of both of our teams, and I was like, typical crayfish. I was flip flopping, wanted to change my team a million different times, and I was just like, whatever. I'm just gonna roll with it. But I'm with you, man. I mean, I love the way you booked those two brackets, SPD. I see a lot of great matches that come out of that. There's
Yours.
similar patterns, right? There's similar patterns in what we looked at, right? So my Dynamite group is a little bit more like your download group, where I viewed these guys as maybe, again, some a little directionless, but also that's my banger type of that's my banger group, right? Where I
Yeah.
view guys who are like maybe a little smaller, who I think could put on some really great matchups with each other. I really it honestly, Mind has had a lot of fantasy booking conversations about Hook that has made me curious about, what could we do with his character to make him a little more compelling.
That's where I was talking about directional, not necessarily fully directionalist, but this will give more wrestlers purpose.
Right, like
But are
Darby
not-
Allin's, and I'm the conductor of the Darby Express, and he has been painted as one of the key leaders of Team AEW versus the Death Riders. But he just, I mean, I don't know. There's something about Darby right now who feels like he's floating, right? He was the number one contender. He lost it to Moxley. What's going on with him? And then I threw Buddy Matthews in there just because, like, he's basically
Yeah.
my version of Pac in this tournament. But I stayed
Yeah.
away from having
Yeah.
the Death Riders in here on purpose, because I feel like that group is very purposeful right now. So I tried to keep everybody out of the Death Riders
Same.
out of that. I feel like they're very focused. They're razor focused. My download group is more of the big men or the size guys. Obviously, I threw Jay White in there just kind of as a wild card. I think that Jay, I've always, ever since the MJF feud with Jay White, I have personally been a little salty about what's gone on with Jay White's career in AEW, and I just I'm an advocate for him, and I want to see him have opportunities. And I think if you had chances of seeing Jay White versus Takeshita versus Kyle Fletcher versus Hangman, he has that awesome feud with Hanger. I think that download group could put on some matchups that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I know we're not getting SPD is your purpose to, like, we'll talk about who we think's going to win ultimately after we see
I think
everybody's card.
we could declare a winner as well.
Yeah,
Big Bill was on my short list.
Who was your
too.
pick
I had
for the
him
winner
in and
on
out.
yours?
I mean, if this Ricochet match wasn't built already or booked already for Full Gear, I would say, like, they can long play that Ricochet for Okada.
Swing back to your card. I want to see yours first
okay.
and then, like, let's see.
I mean,
who would be your pick?
I want Wardlow to win. I just want Wardlow because we want so
Bobby.
highly of him. But I also feel like this could be the rise of Fletcher. But you got to think of, this is either going to be the match that they face Okada, or Okada has to essentially dethrone himself, be titleless, enter the tournament, and try to win it back. So, like, we don't know.
Is this a Dynamite ring? Yeah.
Right. So does Okada have to enter this tournament, essentially relinquish the title because it's the Continental Classic tournament, and then he has to fight back to win it back? But, I would love to see Wardlow, Hobbs, Fletcher.
Okay, pick one. Who would be your pick if you had to pick one to win the Continental Classic on your brackets?
I would pick Wardlow.
Okay. All right. So now go to mine real quick.
Yeah.
So mine,
because I want the best for him.
I mean, again, I love Wardlow, but he's not even on my bracket here. It's just
Sadly.
because I truly don't know what's going on with him, and I'm shocked that I feel this way about his career. But I love Steven's commentary, and I know SPD, you're a huge Kyle Fletcher mark. All of a sudden, like, man, I'm watching the show over the weeks. Like, I know
He hears
that
voices in his head.
SPD has these mini, like, debates on these episodes, even though I'm not even on it. Like, he knows that I'm not as big of a Kyle Fletcher mark as he is. And I feel like there are episodes where I'm watching along and I'm seeing, like, SPD trying to to have a mini debate with me, even though I'm not on. So it makes me laugh.
You'll come around. You'll come around.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Hey,
I don't know.
I came around to
I do think
FTR. I came around to Miro. I came around to so many
The
guys
Darby
that you
train.
showed me. Yes.
I think like it will be funny because I do have a feeling that mine will have Kyle Fletcher on his card, and it's telling that all three of us will have him on our card, right? We all think that like that speaks volumes, right?
You're right.
I think there's 3 names that we've all had on our cards that I can already
There are
tell.
some similar. So who's your winner before we go to
mine? Would be mine's Shelton Benjamin, and
Okay.
and the main reason why is because I think that there's a lot of hype obviously about Bobby Lashley. And I think that Lashley can stand on his own 2 feet. But, this is the type of tournament that I think if you throw Shelton Benjamin in, and as I alluded to earlier, I think that AEW could be a real perfect fit for Shelton Benjamin, especially at this stage of his career. He's kind of he's been there, done that as far as the guy who everyone thought like, man, this guy's underrated. Kind of has that Dolph Ziggler, Nick, the Nick Nemeth vibe where Nick has moved on from WWE and now has become quite successful in his other ventures outside of that. And I think that this could be one of those similar scenarios, right? Where Shelton Benjamin leaves WWE, he goes to AEW, and he finally breaks through that glass ceiling that he's always kind of had lingering over him. Benjamin looks like a stud right now. I mean, he looks, especially on the backdrop of the AEW roster. This guy just he drips like he's a guy that I feel like that should win this tournament, and I think it's the perfect example of a tournament that like fits what Shelton Benjamin's all about, right? He's a well respected, amateur wrestler, a guy who everyone has felt like has so much upside. And I just, there's something about him where I feel like if you anoint him as the winner of the Continental Classic, and then you have Bobby Lashley being built up naturally the way that I think that they're going to do, the Hurt Syndicate is presented quite strong. And I know, SPD, you've been really hammering home this point on the show of late of like, I want a strong faction. I love strong factions, and like, I'm all for that. I love that. I love the Death Riders right now. That is what's keeping me glued to AEW. Even though like there are things that I still am struggling, like especially as a dad of 2 kids now, like I'm having a hard time keeping up with the content every week. But the Death Riders is keeping me glued in because I love what they're about, and I love a strong faction. And so I think Hurt Syndicate being presented strong. I love Shelton Benjamin winning this thing. I think it would be huge for them.
Top of your list, mine and Dynamite Group.
There you go.
All right, here we go. So now I as we started talking, I realized I forgot to. I can't believe I didn't put Roosh anywhere on any of these things.
Use
I could probably swap out Roosh with a lot of these guys. All right, Dynamite Group. Shelton Benjamin at the top. I think he's everybody's pick. At least one of our. We've all picked him to be part of this. Mark Briscoe, of course. Now that he no longer has the ROH title, I think it's going to mean more to him to be in this group. I think you can do a lot with Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, because Kyle kind of has one foot in each storyline. He's got the Roderick Strong history, but he's also now part of the conglomeration and the inflammation with Mark Briscoe, so that you're going to have some compelling storylines there. I think this is an opportunity to get Daniel Garcia some bangers, as well. Now, if I could swap, I probably would swap out Darby Allin and put Roosh, but I think this is a good spot for Darby to have some killer matches. But out of those guys, I see Shelton Benjamin being the guy to win the Dynamite Group, because I think you'll have a lot of bangers, but it'll be Shelton just winning. I think I'd like to see him go almost undefeated. Yeah, you know what? If we could officially do that, swap Darby with Roosh, exactly like Steven said. Let's make that official. But I do think Shelton Benjamin comes out of the Dynamite Group.
We all might need to swap someone for Okada too, but I'll do that for you.
Absolutely, we could do that. Now, Download Group, I purposely wanted Powerhouse Hobbs in a different group than Shelton Benjamin, because I think it's too soon to have that matchup because I want us to get to a point where there's that oh crap moment where Hobbs and Shelton Benjamin face off, because that's going to be meat, power, agility, all that stuff. But it's too soon. Let's get to that later on. Powerhouse Hobbs is going to be killing fools. Of course, Kyle Fletcher, the Viper Kyle Fletcher, or Kyle Orton, if you will.
Viper.
But I like this mix of meat versus heat, because you've got, for every Powerhouse Hobbs, you've got Leo Rush. I think Leo Rush is a great
Nick Wayne. You're so high on Nick Wayne. I love it.
I'm getting to him. Jay White, the Switchblade's got to be in it, and he's got to be the threat to whoever wins this bracket, that he's going to win it. And I think it would be awesome to have him in there. Malachi Black, of course, the literal dark horse, having him in there. He needs his flowers too, because again, that's another one of those direct, like the whole House of Black. Don't get me started on a hot take on House of Black, but that's another directionless guy that needs some meat to his storyline. However, I think to really get the fans to hate Nick Wayne, Nick needs to be winning every one of his matches early on. And have Christian involved. Have Christian and have Kip Sabian and even Mama Wayne cost whoever he's facing the match, because here's the thing.
Nick Wayne to win the Continental Classic.
I'm not saying he wins. Early on, he's going to win. He's going to be undefeated in the Classic, and it's going to go to his head, and he's going to be just walking around like this, like step Nepo baby, walking around going like, look at me. And fans are going to hate him.
Yeah.
But he's going to talk like he's putting down all these legends, and then he's going to get his ass kicked. And then that's when he finally starts to drop. And then Kip Sabian's going to cost him in one of his matches. And then that's going to start to get that whole thing going with them. Who comes out of this, though? I think I'd like to see Kyle Fletcher come out of the download group as the winner. I'd like it to come down to him or Powerhouse Hobbs. And that's the last match. They're both tied in points. And they're the last match with each other. And then the winner, of course, will win and have it be Kyle Fletcher that somehow wins. Hobbs, of course, you still have that Hobbs looks great and he's going to, vow to come back. So then that gives you Kyle Fletcher versus Shelton Benjamin.
What a matchup.
Kyle Fletcher versus Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin wins the Continental Classic. Boom. And then whether he takes on Okada from that point on, I don't know.
I mean, Kyle Fletcher versus Shelton Benjamin as your finals. That's money, man. I mean, that is going to be a heck of a matchup. Like that performance in ring. That's one of those where you like give me a best 2 out of 3. I mean, those guys. Yeah. Their styles would gel so well together. I love that as a finals. I love it.
I mean, obviously in fantasy booking, having Wardlow as the comeback and whatever injury permitting and timing, but realistically, given the landscape of what's going on, I think like we're all of us are in a lockstep, and I feel like the favorites to win this whole tournament are either Fletcher or Shelton, and I feel like the tide is turning for both of those guys in a good way, and it's a toss-up between those two. And I love the way you booked the trajectory of the Hurt Syndicate with that, because then Bobby can either, go to the world title picture eventually, but I don't know if they would ever feud with the Death Riders anytime soon, or the TNT title, something like that. If Garcia were to win on Saturday, then he can have his eyes set on the TNT title, and then he can just beat the shit out of Garcia and become the next TNT champ.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Whatever that may be. But Fletcher and Benjamin, I think those should be the betting favorites, at least here at Dynamite Download. I like where we're going with that, and it's fun to see what direction we have of what we're thinking with this, with no one even officially announced.
Yeah, and their styles, like their in-ring styles, just feel like they're made for this tournament. You know what I mean? Like they're just both guys are workhorses. They've got a great blend of skills as far as power, size, speed, athleticism. There's no real holes in their games, and that's what I feel like the Continental Classic is really kind of about, is like who's the most all around best talent. It's not just about like being able to be a powerhouse or one of those guys who can do flips and stuff. You got to be balanced, and I think these are two guys that stand out as just there's very, very well-rounded stars. And I think I think those two would in a finals would be a lot of fun. I'm all for it.
Yes. And as we're wrapping up our show tonight, not too much to spoil for our preview show tomorrow night after Rampage. We're going to go live at late night, Friday night, Flights and Fights, 11:30 preview show for Full Gear. It's going to be a late night. SPD's in Hollywood, West Coast, so he'll be tuning in earlier for me. But join us tomorrow for our Full Gear preview show. And if you missed it, the match that was just announced hot off the press was Takeshita versus Ricochet for the International Championship. So we're going to be going live. Stay tuned to our YouTube and all our socials to join in. We'd love to have you. Everyone who's part of the draft needs to make their bingo card picks for before the show goes live on Saturday. So the bingo card will be locked with no more matches added once we do our preview show tomorrow, but you can still make your adjustment picks up into the start of the 0 hour. So tomorrow, 11:30 p.m. Eastern is going to be our preview show, Full Gear. Tune in. We're going to be making our selections, and it's huge because it is plus 3 points. Whoever has the best bingo card for Full Gear.
It's huge. It's huge. It's the best. Huge. It's the best SBD. Come on.
It is the best. It's going to be the best pay-per-view of the year. But Thank you guys for tuning in. I know we're running a little late. Thanks for coming in, Crayfish, giving us your Continental Classic picks, which is an exciting time. I love the tournament because it gives you some nonstop action, 20-minute time limit matches, no interferences, and like some of your favorite wrestlers week in and week out wrestling in such a fun, cool tournament style. But we'll see you all tomorrow for our Full Gear preview show. And join us in the chat and have a great rest of your evening, everyone.